Researchers are faced with a mystery. Hundreds of stars have suddenly disappeared from our night sky. In this video, you will find out the possible reasons for this, whether they are numerous supernovae, or whether aliens have simply wiped out the stars. Thank you, friends, and welcome. There are around 200 billion stars in our Milky Way. To ensure that my subscription figures soon reach this size, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so and activate the bell so that you never miss a galactic video again. Win-win. Hundreds of the billions of stars in our galaxy have simply disappeared into thin air. Imagine you're lying in your garden looking up at the stars and suddenly a few of them disappear. That's exactly what happened to the scientists. They weren't lying on a meadow together, but they were watching the stars disappear on their screens and were baffled for a long time because they couldn't find an explanation for what could have caused this disappearance. It somehow reminds me of the magical transportation in the Harry Potter universe, where wizards simply disapparate, disappear, and reappear in a new place. Sometimes I wish I had that ability too. You can probably guess where I would most like to disappear to. In any case, the stars in question have not disappeared in a Harry Potter-like manner, so let's take a look at the possible causes and see which theory the researchers consider the most likely. It is really strange when stars that have even been catalogued disappear without a trace. We know this from things like reading glasses, wallets, or in my case, my airports, which I simply look for every day, but stars, they don't just disappear like that. So here are 4 theories. Theory number 1. Some stars disappear when they reach the end of their lives and die. But that is anything but a quiet and secret process. Many stars end and disappear in a supernova, which is a huge explosion that occurs when a massive star reaches the end of its life cycle. This process marks one of the most energetic and dramatic events in the universe. For some Germans, it's comparable to the Spanish winning goal just before the end of the game. But what exactly happens? First, the star fuses hydrogen into helium in its core, and later heavier elements up to iron. Since iron does not continue to fuse, the star collapses under its own weight. This collapse generates a shock wave that hurls the outer layers of the star into space. In the process, an immense amount of energy is released, causing the star to shine extremely brightly. After the explosion, only the compact core remains, which either forms a neutron star or a black hole. The rest of the star is distributed as gas and dust in space and can contribute to the formation of new stars and planets. So the star doesn't really disappear, something always remains, which is why the theory of supernovae is rather out of the question here. Let's move on to theory number 2. This has something to do with gravitational lenses. A gravitational lens is a phenomenon that occurs when the light from a distant celestial object, such as a galaxy or a star, is deflected by the gravity of a massive object located between the light source and the observer. This massive object can be a galaxy cluster, or any other large object in the universe, and the gravity of this massive object acts like a lens, distorting the space around it. When the light from the distant object travels through this distorted space, it is deflected and bent, much like light is refracted by an optical lens. This phenomenon was predicted by Albert Einstein as part of his general theory of relativity. The result is that the distant object can appear distorted, magnified, or multiplied for the observer on Earth. For example, a distant galaxy can appear as a ring or as several separate images. Astronomers can use these effects not only to study the distant object itself more closely, but also to obtain information about the mass and distribution of the object that acts as a lens. Gravitational lenses can cause the light from a star to appear temporarily different, or even to be completely obscured depending on how the light is bent around the gravitational object. But as you can probably guess, even a gravitational lens is not really satisfactory or can really explain why stars suddenly disappear permanently. So let's just take a look at a third, even more absurd theory: aliens who have built Dyson spheres around the stars. A Dyson sphere is a theoretical concept proposed by the British-American physicist and mathematician Freeman Dyson. It describes a hypothetical megastructure built around a star and designed to harness all of its energy production. Imagine a civilization with such a high energy demand that it has to use all the energy of its home star. To achieve this civilization could arrange a huge shell or a multitude of interconnected satellites around the star, which would capture all the light emitted by it and pass it on for use. How ingenious would that be for the Earth? And you would never again have any discussions about nuclear power plants or wind turbines. A Dyson sphere would be a solid, rigid structure that completely encloses the star. It would then be virtually invisible. Unfortunately, there is no evidence of the existence of such a sphere, which is why this third theory remains just that, a theory. But I can already hear you complaining.
Get to the point, dude. The soccer game is about to start.
Okay, let's move on to the fourth and most likely theory. A new study published in Physical Review Letters has provided the most convincing explanation to date. An international team led by astrophysicist Alejandro Viña-Gómez from the Niels Bohr Institute in Denmark and the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics in Germany suggests that some massive stars may not die with a bang, as previously mentioned, but with a kind of whimper. Sounds a bit unspectacular. Who wants to hear about whimpering stars? But the concept is super exciting. It could be a so-called Unnova or a failed supernova, also known as a total collapse. A failed supernova is a phenomenon in which a massive star at the end of its life cycle collapses directly into a black hole without experiencing the typical spectacular explosion of a supernova. Normally, the collapse of the core of such a star leads to a shock wave that ejects the outer layers of the star into space, thereby releasing immense amounts of light and energy. This is the classic supernova, which is visible as a very bright event in the night sky and which we have just been talking about. In the case of a failed supernova or an unnova, however, the process is different. The core of the star collapses directly into a black hole without an explosive shockwave being created, so the outer layers of the star are not ejected and there is no bright burst of light, which is typically associated with a supernova. The star thus disappears quietly from the night sky as if it had simply gone out. A well-known example of an unnova could be the system VFTS243 in the Large Magellanic Cloud. It consists of a massive star that is about 7.4 million years old and about 25 times as massive as the Sun, and a black hole that is about 10 times as massive as the Sun. Researchers are using this system to support the theory of the unnova. Curiously, the system shows no signs of a supernova explosion, which, according to the models, should have accompanied the formation of the black hole. Instead, the nearly circular orbit of the companion and other features suggest that the original star collapsed directly into a black hole without going through the usual supernova. This is a strong indication that failed supernovae actually exist and play a role in the life cycle of massive stars that suddenly disappear from the scene. Viña-Gómez says, if you were to look up and see a visible star undergoing a sudden collapse, it might look like a star suddenly going out and disappearing from the sky at just the right time. The collapse is so complete that there is no explosion. Nothing escapes, and you wouldn't see a bright supernova in the sky. Astronomers have actually observed suddenly disappearing bright stars in the recent past. We can't be sure, but the results we have obtained from the analysis of VFTS243 have brought us much closer to a credible explanation. The theory says that in these direct collapse events, most of the energy is released in the form of neutrinos, which hardly interact with matter and are therefore not visible. This explanation offers a plausible solution to the disappearance of the stars, as it is consistent with both the observed data and the theoretical models of stellar evolution. Overall, the research supports the hypothesis that failed supernovae, in which massive stars collapse directly into black holes, are responsible for the sudden and seemingly unexplained disappearance of these stars. Further investigations are now needed to further confirm the theory and deepen our understanding of stellar evolution. Let me know which of the four theories you think is the most likely explanation and why. If the theory changes again, or if stars disappear from the scene again soon, I'll let you know immediately, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you now feel like hearing more fascinating stories about stars, then click on the video shown. Researchers have discovered several stars in the Milky Way that behave so strangely that their emissions could indicate that they are Dyson spheres. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, friends.